China has great economic stakes in the Middle East and North Africa region, but lately, over the past few years at least, it has also shown an interest to engage more in political processes of the region, just to mention the brokering of the deal, for instance, between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And after this year's Beijing declaration, do you think is China willing to further promote its role as an active mediator in the MENA conflicts? And do you think that this expansion of the BRICS towards MENA countries is a sign that China is willing to work more into that direction?
Traditionally, China's interest in the MENA region is basically, only in the economics field. But in the recent years, as you mentioned, in the past several years, China is more and more active in political aspect and security aspect. For example, before the Beijing Declaration, back in December 2022, Chinese top leaders, they went to Saudi Arabia and held 3-round summit. And not only a summit between Saudi and China, but also the summit with the other Arabic and Gulf leaders. And soon after that, and partly because of that successful summits, half year later, China mediated the peaceful talk between, as you mentioned, between Iran and Saudi, and which was quite a surprise to the whole world. And that shows the tendency that China is taking more and more active role. And here I would like to point out that in the past, if you look back on the century history of that region, the Western powers rising century ago, the rising Western power, especially Anglo-Saxon power, has practiced divide the role principle in that region, which result in a lot of chaos and conflicts and hatreds. But China's attitude and China's approach toward that region is more uniting and enabling, which is very different, opposite from the Western attitude. So in the past several years, we have helped mediate the antagonistic powers like Iran and Saudi. But also they divided 16 different groups in Palestine to have a more united attitude toward outside threats. So that's a political aspect. But also economic aspect, we are also enabling them. The one case that I always bring up is that if you look back, like the year 2000, which is the year before China joined the WTO, if we compare the trade term of that region, which is how much oil you exchange for a typical industrial product like cell phone. Back in 2000, you need like 30 to 40 barrels of oil for an average cell phone. But today, you only need 3 to 4 barrels of oil for one smartphone, average smartphone. So I bring that political cases and economic cases together to show that China's attitude is more enabling and uniting.
So Donald Trump will soon be back to the White House, and its foreign trade and energy policies are likely to be disruptive. Will Trump's approach translate into more BRICS or less BRICS? What do you expect?
So thank you. Donald Trump's coming back to power is a big issue for not only China, but also both MENA region and the whole Europe. And because I believe his policy and expectation on his policy is making huge differences right now. And from what we hear and from what he have already promised, I believe his second presidency will make the global tariff higher and the global inflation higher, and less global governance, less international cooperation, and hopefully less wars. Because according to some of the news, he's very eager to achieve Nobel Peace Prize. So I wish he could achieve that. And lower energy price, because to hedging against the higher inflation, he's going to pushing down the energy price for various ways, maybe some more pressure on the Middle East, but more carbon emissions. So that's what we're expecting right now. But to less or more BRICS expansion, I personally believe that's almost irrelevant because BRICS expansion and deeper integration has its own momentum because it's the will and interest of the member states and more broadly, the whole global South. They want a platform, as mentioned before. They want a more fair and open, inclusive platform to present their own ideas and interests. So that's why I believe the expansion and the further integration of the BRICS will not be that much influenced by the domestic politics and foreign policy of the United States.